Welcome to Talking Treasures, a CTV Perth production. You haven't seen anything like this before. We're asking you, the viewers, to bring in your treasures so our experts can have a look at them. We're here at Rockingham Hotel, and behind me is Matt Donnelly. Let's have a look.
Good way to treat it. Give us a bit of an idea where these come from and what do you know about them?
Don't know a great deal. They were grandmas on my mother's side.
Yes.
But I have no idea how old they are, or if they're worth anything, or with the replicas or what. Yeah,
well, they're all genuine articles. This one here is hand-painted little display plate from Bavaria, signed down the bottom down here, and it's got a little gilded rim on it. This one here would be from about the 1930s and have an auction estimate of probably about $30 or $40 on its own. It's a nice little hand-painted sort of cabinet piece with the markings on the back there from Bavaria. This symbol here indicates that there is real gold leaf on the outside.
Okay.
So they placed a bit of the gold leaf on the bottom in case anyone ever wanted to scrape it and test it that didn't believe it was. And it then has the hand-painted signature and the factory mark. A lot of the time these came out of the factory as a porcelain white plate, and then either other factories around the world painted them, or even as a home student they could paint them as well if they had kilns and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a nice decorative little plate with a pretty little finish on it. The other little plate we have here is a little bit older again. This one here is from about probably 1895 to 1890, maybe up to 1900. Not gold leaf this time, this is just gold paint on these ones. You can see the sort of difference in the finish, and that's how we tell that. A nice sort of painted finish on it, and being glazed after it's been painted as well. So again, it's not the sort of plate that ever came from a big set or was used. It would have always been kept in a cabinet as a display plate. An English maker on this one, and it's made in Stoke-on-the-Trent. So it's a nice English one. It's got a registered number up the top here, which we get phone calls every week about what's this registered number need if I read it to you, but they don't mean anything, they're just factory numbers. And obviously it's a poppy, is the type of fauna that's on the front there. That plate there would bring somewhere around about $100 to $120 at auction. Yeah. If you went to a sort of reasonable, respectable antique shop, especially with no damage, you'd probably find you'd have to pay the best part of about $200 for that plate. Oh, so yeah, quite a nice plate. This one again has got the same sort of age, around about the turn of the century. We'd call it Victorian to Edwardian, probably closer to Victorian. This one here is made by quite a well-known company, Crown Devon, an English factory again. I would probably say it's a little soap or little lidded jar for something. It's hard to say exactly what these were used for. This one has a hairline crack down there, which I suppose we would too if we were 100 years old as well. And a little bit of the finish is worn on it, but it's typical sort of wear. It's not damage, that's wear. Unfortunately, the crack will deter a few of the values, but in its current state, it would probably make $70 or $80 at auction for a little piece like that. If it wasn't cracked, I'd say it'd double that because it's quite a good brand. This one is pretty much the same as the other one. The only difference, as I'll explain, is this one's hand-painted all over. This one here is hand-painted, but it has a transfer pattern to start with. So they lay a transfer pattern of the basic flower over, and then they get a hand-painted brush out and they follow the lines and fill in the things.
Okay.
You can sort of see where they haven't managed to fill the leaves in properly and they've overrun the green or the blue, if you look closely. Numbers. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But again, just a nice little lidded jar. Funny enough, gone in the same spot with the same crack. This one here is again made in Stoke-on-Trent, and by Aden, little English, porcelain and china company. And I'd say this one's a little bit later, maybe 1910. And then, this one here finally is, it'd say be a jam jar with the cutout on the top, and the lift away lid. It's had a lot of use over the years. Probably had your fingers in there looking for biscuits and jam over the years. But yeah, again, good registered mark on the base. It's English, and again, this one here, all transfer pattern, and the blue highlights you can see have been done by hand, and then it's been fired again with another film over it. So this one here again would date Edwardian, so about 1900, 1910. And there's no real damage on that. It's what we call crazed, is the finish, like that crackly finish, which you know, makes it look nice and antique. But I would say that's about $100 piece on its own there.
Okay.
Originally it would have had a sort of a wooden or a silver plated spoon on it. So yeah, been very interesting with all that little collection, and I'm sure you look after them. You got a little cabinet or something for them?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that's the best way, is keep them in a cabinet, have them out on display and enjoy them. No good wrapped up, tucked away. Nice items.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Well, we're very lucky today. Mary's brought some lovely things into Talking Treasures. Welcome, Mary. You've brought some beautiful bits of jewellery in particular. You've brought this wonderful bangle in. I believe there's a story attached to this, is there?
Well, it was given to my mother by a friend, who the friend inherited it from her sister-in-law.
What was the friend's name? You were telling me.
Gladys Wild Goose.
Gladys Wild Goose. What a lovely name. Anyway, good old Gladys has managed to give your mum something really, really nice. And I'll deal with the bangle first, because it's probably the most important of the group of things that you've brought in today, although there's some other nice things as well. This is a Victorian bangle, probably late Victorian, I'm guessing around the turn of the century. You know, about 1890, 1900. These beautiful graduated opals may well have originated in Australia. Hard to say, but England bought a lot of opals from Australia. I think this is probably an English-made bangle. It doesn't have any hallmarks on it, but that's not uncommon for jewellery. The opals, the graduated opals, are interspersed by nice little rose-cut diamonds. Rose cuts were an early cut. They may even have been taken from another piece of jewellery. By the first quarter of the 20th century, they were moving to brilliants, which are what these diamonds are here. They moved from rose cuts to Europeans, and each development added more facets and therefore reflected more light from the piece of jewellery. But it's a really nice quality piece. It's in great condition. Very little wear and tear on it. Opals are fragile, and they're not a stone that you can, if brutal with. A good knock to an opal will crack it, or can abrade the surface and make them look dull. It's a valuable piece of jewellery. It's the sort of thing in an auction room might bring $2,500. In a shop, you'd be expected to pay maybe four to 5,000, and I think you've probably had it valued for insurance, 6,000 or so for insurance. But a very handsome piece in lovely condition, a very worthy piece indeed. Mary's brought us some lots of nice things. This one I think is very interesting, isn't it? Would you like to tell me about this?
This was a 21st birthday present to my mum.
Yes, when we were talking earlier, Mary mentioned it was a 21st birthday present from her mum, and I said, I'm guessing your mum was probably born in about 1910, and in fact her birthday was 1911, because this dates from the 30s. It's absolutely typically 1930s deco. It's actually not precious metal, I don't think. I think it's a base white metal. These little panels here are glass, made to look like jade. It's more than likely French. The French were brilliant at this. They made these very chic pieces of jewellery using white metal, jade or green jade glass or whatever. There was a great deal of admiration for Oriental things at that time, Oriental jewellery, Oriental style, and these are little Oriental style plaques with a dragon going through them and cloud scrolls. It's a lovely little necklace. It doesn't have a huge intrinsic value, but it's a brilliant demonstration of what, to all intents and purposes, was costume jewellery of the day in the 30s, and it's lovely that it's in such great condition. Do you wear it?
Occasionally.
Yes. It's very pretty. It's very pretty, very wearable. You know, and it's something that you know, the condition is super. In an auction, it might bring $100, $120 because of its condition, and it's, you know, it's in really nice condition.
You're watching Talking Treasures, and we're here with John Stringer. And John, you brought in something to talk about here?
Well, this is a small painting by an Australian artist, and this is somebody we know. It is in fact signed, but I think there are probably enough clues here, if you're familiar with J.A. Turner's work, to point you in that direction even without the signature.
He's a very distinctive style, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's someone from the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, and it is the kind of standard painting that was going on while Impressionism, that is Tom Roberts and Arthur Streeton and people like that, were around. This is not as free and progressive as their work. It's a little bit more traditional. But it's typical Australian subject. You've got your archetypal gum tree, wagon loaded with wood, the dog watching a couple of stockmen and so on.
Having a smoke.
It's very much a, you know, it could only be Australia.
Yeah.
It's very typical. It's Turner, of course, is a professional artist, so it's pretty well painted. You can see there's quite a lot of texture in it. I mean, it's not flat like a reproduction. It's got quite a lively surface, and
those clouds.
yeah,
Jumping out at you.
you can see though that there's a little bit of dirt that has been caught there. It's a painting that could do with some cleaning, because all these brown areas in the sky. I mean, those clouds would come up pretty white, I imagine, if it just needs a light wiped. This probably is not the original frame, because as you can see, the painting sits right in the middle of it. In its original frame, you can see there are a few marks along the bottom edge. That's where the frame originally would have sat. They've taken off a few little bits of paint, but whoever has subsequently owned the painting obviously was not happy with the edges being covered. They wanted to see as much of the painting as they could, and so they've devised a frame like this where you do actually see that.
Change the value of it by taking it out of its original frame?
Not really. I mean, it's better always if a painting is in its original frame. But if the painting is not of great value, it doesn't make that much difference as a rule. I guess you know, this is a nice painting. It's a nice little painting, but it's a fairly minor work. Turner is known for having produced much bigger works, and the bigger ones would be more elaborately framed. Be interesting to know what sort of frame this originally had.
It's still a nice little one, though.
It's quite a nice painting. If it was mine, I would take it out of this frame though and get it back into something that actually goes right up to the margin of the painting, so that it's closer to its original. I would say it's probably only worth you know, $300, perhaps $400, something like that. But this is not the latest copy of the Sales Digest, but we can probably find Turner in it, I imagine.
And of course, restoring it, that would add on value.
Yeah, well, yes,
Yeah.
it would be worth more if it was in good shape. The prices for Turner, from the cheapest one that's listed here, is $7,200. It's dated 1880. So I would imagine this would be worth, you know, closer to $4,000 or $5,000 by the look of this.
Nice. So you're not returning this one, are you?